He was one of Britain's favourite funny men.
Good evening. One of the giants of British television.
You paint a very pretty picture, Ives. I could use you on Jack Honorian.
Everything he did had class about it.
A master of monologue.
The Football Association announced today that any league player who changes his sex before half-time will be allowed to finish the match. Provided, of course, that there is alternative dressing room accommodation.
He was an absolutely great comic actor.
Good evening.
Every kid in every school knew all the shows.
He was a clown and a wordsmith.
Sometimes you get stuck on one letter, such as wobbly. And I said, well, I've got a tin of whoop, a woocumber, 2 packets of wheeze, and a walliflower.
A great chameleon, really, as well as a great comedian.
And a prolific comedy writer.
You can't believe it's the same man in Porridge is the same man as Open All Hours.
He is rooted in being a first-rate actor.
These are the many faces of Ronnie Barker. Ronnie Barker became one of the best-loved comedy faces of the 1980s. He was sensational in variety shows as one half of the two Ronnies.
Sir Laurence Olivier is appearing in No No Nanette at the Trellis Theatre, Tops. And Nanette is appearing in No No Sir Laurence Olivier, the Globe Theatre Gospel.
And as a solo star in sitcoms like Porridge.
You know, Fletcher, this is the part of the job that I hate. You know, locking men up, caging them in.
Yeah, 'tis a pity too. Just when the good telly's starting to know, it's a shame, isn't it, eh? All we ever see is the news, innit, eh? News and nationwide. What's the good of bleeding nationwide when you're stuck in here, eh?
He shone from an early age, but almost missed the stage for a career in banking. In private, it was an image he never really shook off.
If you met him, you would never ever think it was anything to do with the theatre. You would think he is a very witty bank manager.
But Barker on screen was an inspiration for a generation of British comedy.
Ronnie Barker was a superstar in all our lives. I mean, comedy, 70s comedy was hugely important, you know. Every kid in every school knew all the shows.
Ronnie's fame was international, the famous fork-handle sketch wowing audiences all around the world.
In every English-speaking country in the world, they were huge.
Sore tips.
Sore tips. Would you want ointment or something like that?
It was a work of genius, that sketch was.
Ronnie Barker turned a desk job in theatre into a stage job at the Oxford Playhouse and instantly made his mark.
Only gradually I realised that whenever I had a little part, Ronnie would come up to me and give me what I realise now were wonderful notes. And I did always leap on them and say, oh yes, that's a good, oh, I see what I'm doing now. But he was a brilliant actor. I mean, I can remember thinking how good he was in things, but in this very quiet way. There was no bombast about him. No, you wouldn't have known he was an actor.
Ronnie was good, but in the early 1950s, a career in television was a million miles away.
We didn't speak about television. Television was a very down-market thing that some people did for money, but I don't remember anybody speaking about television.
Auntie, would you like to sit there, please?
Television was still a vulgar cousin of stage, but Ronnie had his eye on glamour. His first film appearance was as a waiter being upstaged by Frankie Vaughan.
Now, Henry, really nice to see you here, sir. What are you going to give us to eat, eh?
Buenas tardes, senor. Senorita. What is all this, eh? Why all this argumentation?
Well, I'm very sorry, sir, but... Well, for 7 years now, Sir Bertram has been my special customer. And I will not have him taken away from me by this foreigner.
Foreigner? Well, I'm British through and through. Hid and hop. No.
The movie Wonderful Things turned out to be nothing special, and Ronnie's cinema debut came to nothing. But in 1958, the wireless was the mass medium of the day, and it was here that Ronnie Barker began to get noticed in the comedy The Navy Lark.
Betty Marsden told me about this very funny actor who was in a radio show, The Navy Lark.
I want 2 halves.
Do you mind, sailor? I've only got 1 pair of hands, you know.
Yeah, I had noticed.
They performed at the Playhouse Cinema, which was taken over by the BBC. So I went along and I saw Ronnie Barker and was knocked out by him. I thought he was brilliant.
This afternoon.
Radio was the place where comedians were, and star comedians had their shows. And when television gradually took over, they created their own stars.
When radio star Jimmy Edwards moved to television, Ronnie Barker was part of the team. It's 1961, and already somebody has noticed that Ronnie looks good behind a desk.
And here is the news. The spores. There is no sign of any decrease in the widespread changing of gender. The clothing exchange centers set up by the WVS will now remain open until 10 p.m.
Muir and Norden were the top comedy writers on radio. And they'd done this series with Jimmy Edwards, which they asked me to do. And in that series, we had Ronnie Barker. And as soon as Muir and Norden saw Ronnie Barker in the one episode, they started rewriting the scripts to bring him in more, because he was obviously a major talent.
His name to play 2 games of Scrabble.
Jimmy Edwards was very much a traditional comedy performer, but now in the 1960s, the new kids wanted to make their own radical shows. Jimmy Gilbert was to produce the landmark review, The Frost Report.
We had John Cleese, Ronnie Corbett, and I was looking for a 3rd member of the cast. And of course I didn't have to look very far. I rang up Ronnie Barker and asked him if he would do it. But he was appearing in a play at Stratford East with Robert Atkins. But he asked if he could be released, and they let him go. So we got him. We nearly didn't get him. In which case, where would the 2 Ronnies have been? Because it was The Frost Report where Ronnie Barker and Ronnie Corbett met, of course, and they were marvellous together.
Good evening. Now, tonight in the studio we have the chairman of the League of Television Decency, Mr. Whitefoot. Good evening.
Good evening.
Now, Mr. Whitefoot, I understand that the purpose of your campaign is, in fact, to clean up television.
Yes. We take exception most strongly to some of the double entendre and suggestive dialogue in BBC plays, for example.
Now, would you like to give us an example?
Yes, willingly. The other night, a character was heard to say, and I quote, "Look here."
Well, that sounds perfectly harmless to me.
Well, it depends on which way you look at it, doesn't it? I mean, to me, look here suggests, look here through this keyhole, at this young female person divesting herself of her clothing.
It was fresh, it was different, and it was topical as well, and was fairly cutting. There was some really, and there were some very silly, short, little silly bits.
Waiter, could I have the baked jam roll, please?
Not till you've finished your cabbage.
The Frost Report was live, and that was very frightening. But it actually, it was not an adrenaline running around. I remember John Cleese was absolutely petrified.
Oh, you go ahead, please.
I think I'll begin with a little Dubrovnik caviar with just a twisted lemon. Then the lobster without dressing, please, but covered with a mixture of mushrooms and onions, the way the chef knows I like it.
Because the Ronnies had so much experience, and I had none at all. And I do remember looking into the mirror in the bathroom one day where I'd gone to wash my hands just before the show and thinking I could not be more frightened if I was a matador going into a ring with a bull.
After that, the Coupe Jacques and a small cup of Brazilian coffee, not the Cuban, and a glass of Courvoisier 21.
Thank you, sir. Sure. And madam?
I'll have a plain omelette.
sounds rather nice. Do you mind if I change?
The terror is drying, and we had an audience, live audience, and it was going out live, and, it was really scary.
A lot of it was David sitting looking into camera and reading lots and lots of jokes off the teleprompter or the auto cue.
Of course, the traditional standard of cooking we used to associate with the British was that of the guest house at a certain unnamed seaside resort famous for its Blackpool Rock.
With his experience of repertory theatre, Ronnie Barker brought acting skills to the increasingly dramatic sketches. Ronnie was in on an exciting revolution in television. The Frost Report brought together old school and new school comedy in a fast-moving sketch format.
Enjoying your steak, are you?
Yeah, thank you very much.
What he did was put together the intellectual mob, the university people, with more traditional performers.
The Chinese eat pussycats. Covered all over in melted chocolate. It's a well-known fact.
I don't care and I'm not interested.
And monkeys.
So this is an amalgam of different backgrounds. And that was a clever thing to do, a sort of comedy fusion almost.
Gone off it, have you?
Yes.
Just going to eat the vegetables, are you?
Yes.
Vegetables have nervous systems too, Scientists have recorded their screams of agony as they're torn out of the ground by their roots. Carrots shriek.
Ronnie Barker, extraordinarily, sort of crossed. He could work with the university types, and he could work with the lowbrow types, Ronnie Corbett, amongst others. So he was amazing at bridging those two sort of class distinctions, if you like. But he was essentially an actor. He wasn't a comedian.
I look down on him because I am upper class.
I look up to him because he is upper class. But I look down on him because he is lower class. I am middle class. I know my place. I look up to them both. But I don't look up to him as much as I look up to him. Because he has got innate breeding.
I have got innate breeding, but I have not got any money.
That famous sketch that illustrates class difference with Cleese, Corbett and Barker together, it has become the lazy shorthand for all debates about class in the 60s. Every time you see a TV documentary that refers to the idea of class, or a Newsnight discussion, let's say, about class, that image is projected up on the screen. And in a way, I mean, it's because it's brilliant. It's because it captures that idea of social mobility, or in fact the lack of it in the 60s that people were talking about. Barker's in the middle, but actually Barker could have been anywhere in that lineup. Rather hard to imagine John Cleese playing the working class guy at the end. Rather hard to imagine Ronnie Corbett perhaps embodying that kind of upper class hauteur that Cleese does so effortlessly. Barker could have been anywhere in that.
I shall now pronounce sentence.
There were 2 series of The Frost Report on the BBC before the show moved to ITV as Frost on Sunday. John Cleese had already decided to leave the show. He would go on to create Monty Python after his first attempt at a dream team, including Ronnie Barker, failed.
Silence in court. If there is any more noise, I shall have to ask the orchestra to leave.
I can't remember quite why we went our different ways. I do know that at one stage I tried to put them all together. Graham Chapman and I wrote a movie for the Frost organisation that was called Piglust and Company. And Ronnie Barker was Mr. Piglust. And I liked the script very, very much. And it had Ronnie Barker, Ronnie Corbett, Marty, Tim, Graham, and me in it. So it was very much an attempt to put the group together. But unfortunately, Frost sold it to Ned Sherrin. I thought he brought Ned Sherrin in as producer, and Ned, whom I didn't like very much as a person or professionally, I thought there was a coarseness to his taste. He would not use Charlie Crichton, who was, of course, the director of Fish Called Wanda. And so Graham and I walked away from the project, and so did Ronnie Barker and Ronnie Corbett, and we just went off. But what I would love to have got us together.
The Frost shows were hungry for scripts and attracted some of the best comedy talents of a generation.
Hello. British Hormone Company here. Miss Tompkins speaking.
We wrote hundreds of sketches, so many. The pressure is therefore huge. You can't hang around. There are certain sort of rules or techniques. You can't hang around without a laugh for too long. And the worst of the lot was you got to have a punchline.
I mean, look. It says here in the paper, intimacy took place. Now, why can't they come straight out with it and say he gave her a jolly good... Did you see the cricket? I mean, why can't they say he gave her a jolly good cricket? Why can't they just say he gave her a jolly good dinner, and then he took her home, and then what? And then intimacy took place.
Ronnie also knew a good script when he saw it. I think that's one of the key things of a genius performer. Out of all the comedy people, almost in British comedy history, he's probably the one who's done the least crap. He's by and large, he's really, everything he did had class about it.
Many of the writers on the show would go on to be household names: Michael Palin, Graham Garden, Barry Cryer. There was another writer, though, who was as prolific and would have been as revered if he hadn't been a complete enigma.
Some sketches started coming in that were really classy, very funny. And the writer was never there. And we started to ask, where is he? And they said, well, he just... he sends them in, don't know who it is.
The notorious episode of Gerald Wiley, and who we're told was a recluse. And he started submitting sketches.
And we used to say, anything from Gerald Wiley this week, and disappointed if there wasn't. And then at the very end, nobody knew. We were all taking bets who it was, because you thought, this person is too good. He's too good at writing. He must be a writer or something.
The first one they ever did, I think, was set in a doctor's waiting room and had a very big part for Ronnie Corbett and a small one for Ronnie Barker. And I was going to say they both liked the sketch, but of course they both did. Ronnie Corbett didn't know who Gerald Wiley was. And then Wiley starts submitting. The funny thing was, Ronnie Barker would sometimes turn down a Gerald Wiley sketch and say he's losing it. No, it's not up to his usual standard.
And it got to the end of the series, and David took us all out to a Chinese meal, a big table full, and they invited this man.
It was like Agatha Christie, we were all there. And we all turned, a lot of us turned up, and Frank Muir popped his head in, it was our boss, and we thought, it was you having a laugh. No. And we thought it was Tom Stoppard who was with the agent.
So we're sitting there agog, waiting for this bloke to arrive. And all of a sudden, up jumps Ronnie Barker and says, well, I'm sorry to disappoint you all, but it's me. And I think most of us laughed at him. We thought, very good gag, and then kept looking round for Gerald Wiley. And eventually said, no, it is me.
And I stood up and said, the toast is, nobody loves a smart ass. And that was Wiley revealed. And then, of course, he'd lost his cover. I respected why he did it in the first place. He didn't want sketches accepted just because he'd written them. But then his cover was blown.
Rather embarrassingly, Gerald Wiley began to take ideas from other writers and use them for himself. The famous sketch with the Spoonerisms in it, not originated by Ronnie Barker or Gerald Wiley, but added to, sequels written to this sketch.
Good evening.
I am the president of the Loyal Society for the Relief of Sufferers from Piss Pronunciation. For people who cannot say their worms correctly, or who use the wrong worms entirely, so that other people cannot understand the bird they are spraying.
The piss pronunciation of worms, one of the most famous of those sketches where Barker talks directly to camera and gives you a kind of Ministry of Information lecture. The first one was not written by him, but all the subsequent others were.
It's just that you open your mouths and the worms come turbling out in Wackasay that you dick not what you're thugging a bit.
And I know that there was a little bit of tension, because I think they felt sometimes that Ronnie kind of rewrote ideas of theirs without them really getting any credit. And sometimes I think they felt that he changed the material.
David Frost had taken the show to ITV and was keen to make the most of his stable of comedy thoroughbreds. Ronnie would be tried out in longer formats, including a film he both wrote and produced, Futtock's End. It was a slapstick movie of sound effects with no dialogue, and was not his finest moment.
There's only one criticism I would make of Ronnie, is that he had a little bit of the Benny Hill streak of humour in him. He could put in a bosom or a bottom joke when it just sort of slightly lowered the tone of the absolutely excellent work he was doing everywhere else.
It was 1970, and Futtock's End was at one extreme of a very wide spectrum of acting roles for Ronnie. At the other end was an offer of Shakespeare.
It's sad, he said, I'm not going to be able to do this. I've been offered this. I said, why can't you do it? He said, well, it's during the school holiday. I said, well, what's that got to do with it? He said, well, Joy and I and the kids, we always go to Littlehampton. I said, yes, but think, oh, God, I must organise this. I said, but it's television. It's not doing a play every night where you can't get there. Of course you can. You can rehearse during the day and they'll give you the weekend off. He said, no, it's a school holiday. And I'd have given them au pairs to die for down in Littlehampton to look after them all.
Love keep little company.
Ronnie did in fact play Bottom in A Midsummer Night's Dream with his old colleague Eileen Atkins.
I suppose I might have thought whether, because he'd been doing these sketches on television, wonder whether he would have, when he played with you, you would still feel the engagement with what you were doing as well. But it was all there, absolutely. He is rooted in being a first-rate actor, and nothing had shifted that. No, he was lovely.
I've had a dream. But ask the wit of man to say what dream it was. Man's but an ass if he go back to explain this dream.
While at ITV, Ronnie appeared in 6 plays, the Ronnie Barker Playhouse, and 6 dates with Barker, each intended to, but failing to find a sitcom for the rising star. The character of Lord Rustless did emerge and featured regularly in the sketch show Hark at Barker. He would go on to make regular appearances throughout Ronnie's career.
Yeah, there you are. Now, I suppose some of you must be wondering why I've sent for you. Well, the point is, the television people thought that you might like to have a look around my seat.
Ronnie was named ITV Personality of the Year in 1969. ITV must have known they had a star in Barker, but his destiny was about to be forged not by his talent, but by his contract.
There was a very poor decision made at London Weekend Television. There was a lot of politics at London Weekend. David Frost, an absolutely brilliant entrepreneur apart from anything else, who helped to create London Weekend Television, had the 2 Ronnies under contract. And there was some politics that went on, and the management at London Weekend Television said they wouldn't continue with the 2 Ronnies by buying them through David Frost's company, which was a ridiculous decision. And so they left, and the BBC couldn't believe their luck, and they signed the 2 Ronnies. So ITV had the 2 Ronnies and lost them, in the same way that the BBC had Stanley Baxter and lost him.
The BBC launched the 2 Ronnies TV show in 1971. Their trademark opening address would welcome millions of families in Britain for the next 16 years.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the show. I must say it's very nice to be with you all, isn't it?
It is.
And it's very nice to be with you.
Thank you, Ron.
Every Two Ronnies show was closely formatted. Viewers expected to see the newsreaders, sketches, and song parodies.
I would love to eat anything I wanted. Bangers and beans and enormous lumps of fried bread, fed chopped chips and steak and kidney pies by a girl who likes cooking, who's big and good looking, whose dumplings are double the size. Oh, have a damn good time. All peaches and cream.
They complement each other very well. There's the physical thing going on, of course. The big chubby man with the short man. I mean, we've seen that from time immemorial in comedy. But there's something about the way, the rhythm of their performances together. There's a naturalness about it. In those sketches where they meet at a party, you can almost believe that those people are real, no matter how absurd their afflictions and their verbal tics are.
Hello, I don't believe we've met. Clive Winfrey.
Hello, my name is...
No, don't tell me. There's a little game I like to play at parties.
Oh.
Yes, guessing people's names. Yes, I'm very good at it too, yes. I always guess their name by what they look like,
It might be partly because Ronnie Corbett accepted his secondary role in that partnership, that he wasn't trying to muscle in on the writing process as well, and was in a way happy to let Ronnie Barker be kind of the originator in that act.
I'm so sure that you will not be able to guess my name. I'll tell you what, if you get it right, I will allow you to spend the night with my wife Daphne, the beautiful lady in the red. If you get it, you see. She's smiling, looking.
How many guesses can I have?
You can have as many as you like.
All right. Well, you look to me like a Pratt. Sidney Pratt. No. Perhaps you're more like more like a Wally. Are you, let's say, Wally Partington Smythe?
No.
Monty Rothermere?
No. Look, I'll give you a clue. My surname sounds like something that comes out at night.
Comes out at night? Malcolm Dentures.
But actually, I think what makes it work is that they just seem to like each other. There's a sort of ease about the way they work with each other when they're sitting out as the village idiots on the wall, or the two old guys in the allotment.
We live in the same sort of house.
Yeah?
Same road, same shape, same size rooms.
Yeah?
Well, when you papered your front room, you told me you bought 8 rolls of wallpaper.
That's right, yeah.
Well, I just papered their front room.
Oh, yeah?
I bought 8 rolls of wallpaper. When I finished, I had 2 over.
That's funny. So did I.
Together, the two Ronnies perfectly complemented each other, but they had a different approach to being on their own.
I'm feeling a little bit drained at the moment myself because I spent the weekend potholing.
Ronnie Corbett's armchair monologues seemed a natural portrayal of the man himself.
Of doubt. I hope. I say potholing. To be honest, actually, I was in the back garden trying to pull up a worm and it got the better of me.
But Ronnie Barker always appeared in character.
What about that? Yes. And I didn't help at all with that one, did I? No, I got... No, that's the hat stand. Oh, H. No, you're reading all the furniture. See if you can grab the end of this long pole. Yes? I got it. Have you got it? Yes. Oh, thank goodness for that.
I think Ronnie was never comfortable performing as himself. He always had to be in character. This was something he always made very clear, which was why he would always have just a moustache, if nothing else, when he was playing those announcers at the desk. It always made him feel more comfortable. And yet, in conversation and as himself, he was just supremely funny in a very, very straight, very dry kind of way.
Do you ever experience a general feeling of wobbliness? A, yes, or B, no?
Yes, A. Yes, I do get wobbliness in the head.
There are several possible causes of wobbliness. Please state number of legs.
2 when I last looked. Oh, sorry, wait, the wrong button. Wait a minute. No, oh dear, wait a minute.
You appear to have 12 legs. Are you A, the Nolan sisters? B, the Parliamentary Social Democratic Party? C, 3 teams of one-legged polo players? Or D, was this a mistake?
Ronnie Barker was starring in The Two Ronnies, and he wrote much of the material.
Good evening. Here is the news.
But the sheer volume of scripts demanded outside writers and attracted contributions from all over the world.
I see. Think of yes.
The news desk items famously came in from all quarters across the British Isles, maybe even the world, I don't know, but I mean they had this vast sort of pool of submitters, sort of dentists from Aberdeen, and I don't know who they were, as well as a kind of core of more professional writers who did it for a living.
In the divorce court today, an 85-year-old farmer divorced his 17-year-old wife because he couldn't keep his hands off her. He's now sacked all his hands and bought a combine harvester.
They would whittle it down to, I think, 100 lines a week, which they themselves would then rewrite anyway to give them a greater crispness. And these 100 would be submitted to each of the two Ronnies. And from that 100, they would pick, I don't know, 12, 15 or something that, they actually use on the show. And everyone had to get 2 ticks from each of them. That was the rule.
Me with what anguish I await my beloved, my poor frail body is wasting away.
It was a kind of seemingly bottomless well of characterisation, particularly that Ronnie Barker managed to achieve, which was just marvellous to behold, really.
In yon gloomy tower, the cause of my pinings at present reclining in her chamber dim. Ah, me, when will she be free to be mine own?
Good evening. I'm from the Ministry of Sex Equality. I'm here tonight to explain the situation man to man. Or as we have to say now, person to person. My name is Mr. Stroke Mrs. Barker. But I don't advise any of you to try it. Stroking Mrs. Barker.
He's absolutely brilliant at those lectures to camera. He can just turn on that pomposity, that silliness, but still make it sort of convincing. I mean, he had such a good ear for these things. His wordplay was so dexterous. He knew how to kind of copy the rhythms of the sermon or the public information film and twist them till they became utterly preposterous.
The recent idea by the ministry to avoid confusion is to call a man a doings and a woman a thingy. This offends no one and makes conversation clearer. Thus we instantly recognise the book called Little Thingies, or the musical called My Fair Thingy, or the play by George Bernard Shaw called Doings and Super Doings.
ITV had tried Ronnie Barker in sitcom showcases twice without success. The BBC also realised they had an extraordinary talent. In 1973, they commissioned a series of one-off comedy pilots, 7 of 1, with the intention of finding that elusive sitcom blockbuster.
Ronnie must have been pretty special on the 6th floor at the Beeb and in the eyes of the viewers by the time he did 7 of 1.
One Man's Meat paired Barker with Prunella Scales, making much of the man's rotund stature.
It's just about a man who was on an enforced diet. His wife emptied the fridge, took all his clothes away, and he couldn't eat a thing. She even got the inside out of a boiled egg, so when he thought he got a boiled egg, it was empty. And it was very funny, and it was written by a man called Jack Gertz, who turned out to be Ronnie.
Oh, I'm awfully sorry. I accidentally spilt them all over your nice trousers. Look, why don't we take them off? I'll dry them on the radio.
One man's meat failed to impress, but 2 of the 7 experiments would eventually make extended series. Open All Hours introduced a young David Jason when first broadcast in 1973.
Hey, Granville, have you been caught in again?
Fat chance. We don't close till 9.
Mrs. Scully said it could have been you she saw coming out of there, Margaret.
You what?
This place on Frith Street. Let me finish. Go and get them papers in. I told you not to go and see that Ken Russell film. You've hardly got your spots cleared up from the last one.
Norman Stanley Fletcher.
Small-time villain Norman Stanley Fletcher is convicted. He takes his sentence one day at a time. In particular, the stern warder, Mr. Mackay, played by Fulton Mackay.
Morning, Mr. Mackay. Thanks again, mate. See ya.
Thanks. What was all that about?
Oh, that was just a bit of friendly advice, Mr. Mackay, that's all. Just a bit of friendly advice on matters of the art, just between him and me, you know.
Tell me, Fletcher, is it true that this is the office of Slade Prison's Miss Lonely Hearts?
Is that why you're here then? Problems of that nature?
I have no problems of that nature.
Oh, come off it, Mr. Mackay. All screws, beg your pardon, all prison officers have problems in that area, don't they? I mean, matrimonially, you and me is very similar, you know, because while we're both stuck in here, we can't be sure what our old ladies are up to, can we? I mean, it's no difference, is there?
There is a major difference, Fletcher. Your wives are criminals' wives. They belong to the criminal classes with all their inherent traits of slovenliness and promiscuity. Our wives are the wives of uniformed men, used to a life of service, duty, decency, and moral fibre. My house reflects my wife.
Big, is it?
Spotless.
Ronnie just disappeared, you know, inside those people that he played. Fletcher. I mean, what a wonderful creation, you know. He did say to me once, he said, "It's me, Sam, really. It's me, really, you know, it's easy." But, you know, it was a complete, full-blooded character, and that's what he was so brilliant at. And I think there was a touch of genius, really.
Hello, Warren. What do you want?
Be honest.
What, read it out to you, mean? Yeah, all right, yeah. Is it from the wife, is it?
Yeah, no perfume anywhere.
Oh, yeah, it's very distinctive, isn't it? Yeah, very distinctive. I think this kills 99% of household germs, doesn't it?
I knew it was good. I knew it was really good, and the scripts were great. But I didn't know it was going to be a huge hit, as it turned out to be. I mean, with books written about it, and the top viewing figures one Sunday night in 1976 or 75 or something of 22 million.
Oh, we'll get Saturday morning off at the laundry. I miss you and think of us when you was at home and you used to take mine.
What? Used to what?
Well, it's a bit personal, the next bit, you know what I mean? I don't think I should really read it out, you know, loud, not in front of me. Well, you know, it's intimate, you know.
What is it? What's she saying?
Ah, you read it. Oh, you can't read, can you?
7:30, 8 o'clock, whenever it was. Was a bit of an event. We'll be there for that. Did you see Porridge last night?
That episode of Porridge, where he and Richard Beckinsale are confined in their cell, fantasising about a day out, is one of the most brilliant examples of actorly control and writing, too, that I think that 70s TV ever produced. It's absolutely perfect. And there's something about the way that Barker can conjure those fantasies, the way that he narrates that day of pleasure, fantasizing about being out in the countryside when they're within the prison walls. I mean, it's just a masterclass.
Who'd never done comedy or TV, who perhaps played the Royal Shakespeare Company and the National Theatre, would look at those performances and say, my God, that is acting of the highest calibre.
97, take one.
The character of Fletcher had broken into the hearts of the public, and Porridge was a huge success with a cinema feature film spin-off.
Oh, dear. Where's Elaine work? A tarpaulin factory? Come, read it from. All right, I'll just give you the highlights. Dearest Bunny, blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah,
It's all
what?
trivia's nothing. It's the weather, look, her mother's guitar. She's retard the love. The canary's got hemorrhoids. She met a welder at the Fiesta Club. She's thinking of moving in with him. I must be all fun, I can't have that.
You haven't got a canary.
I'm going straight. I'm straight as an arrow.
And when Fletcher had served his time, there was a sequel following his release.
I'm going straight, I am. Along straight and narrow.
Left something behind, have you?
Yeah. 3.5 years of my life.
You better move on a bit sharpish.
All right.
Porridge won a Royal Television Society Award for Outstanding Achievement. Barker would win 4 BAFTAs over his career. In 1975, accepting a Best Light Entertainment Performance Award, he was moved by the sudden death of his Porridge co-star.
Ladies and gentlemen, the tragic and untimely death of my good friend and colleague Richard Beckinsale 3 days ago has robbed me of the joy of this award, but the pride in winning it still remains. Richard's contribution to Going Straight will always be remembered, but this award is also for the 2 Ronnies, and I would also like to pay tribute to my equally close friend and colleague, Mr. Ronnie Corbett. Thank you very much.
Later in life, Ronnie would receive a BAFTA Lifetime Achievement Award, but the 2 Ronnies received their biggest double-act accolade with 2 OBEs in 1978.
Can you describe the ceremony?
Describe
Well,
the ceremony.
It was rather moving, wasn't it?
Yes,
rather
I thought the bride's father was wonderful. No, it was. It was lovely.
Nerve-wracking and sort of moving, really.
Yes, very.
You got very nervous. We both had to go to the stand-up penny, didn't we?
Yes, I had to use the royal we twice.
Through the 70s, Ronnie acted in both Porridge and Open All Hours. He later claimed Fletcher in Porridge was his favourite creation, but he was worried about typecasting, so he moved between the 2 series.
I'll kill that flaming mouse. What gets me is if he can move like that, well, why hasn't he got a number on his jersey?
He's faster than you are.
Well, I know that, don't I? But it's no good hanging around here waiting for a cheese-eating tortoise, is it?
By the 1980s, television had moved on. Traditional family light entertainment was being challenged by young, alternative comedians.
The tide did turn against this kind of humour. I think we've forgotten now that rather awkward moment when the 2 Ronnies were doing shows at the same time as the alternative comedians coming through. And there was a kind of battle between those people. And Barker and Corbett did become sort of whipping boys for these comedians.
Not the 9 o'clock news saw the 2 Ronnies as an easy target.
It was a very legitimate pastiche and extremely affectionate and very well done. But Ronnie Barker took a guinea. He really didn't like it at all. And I wrote a letter. I have this from John Lloyd, who had produced the sketch, that he ripped them. He said it was excrement. He basically complained to the BBC. So, that wasn't Ronnie's finest hour. But we're all very sensitive to criticism. It's hard to see yourself as others see you. And I'm sure I think I did get the chance to ask him about it. I think he realised later that it was legitimate and fun, but probably he felt threatened. I think everybody feels threatened in showbiz. It's a bit of a paranoid career.
New wave comedians had grown up watching family entertainment, but now wanted their own comedy to be less like their dads. The two generations collided at a BBC Christmas party.
It was a magical thing for me to go into this room. There's Russ Abbott over there, and of course, and suddenly, my goodness, there's Ronnie Barker. And I was with Stephen Fry, and we sort of edged into his orbit because we were both extremely starstruck. Out of admiration, just this is a man who is a comedy great. Anyway, he sort of turned to us and looked rather imperial, and he sort of pointed at Stephen and said, "Like you." And he pointed at me and said, "Don't much like you."
Jolly nice party, this, isn't it?
That was it. That was our end. Anyway, it's not so much I wasn't having it. It was a sort of, everyone was a bit kind of, that was a bit much, wasn't it?
Rather nice wine.
And we began to talk, and of course I was completely besotted and and he was pleased that I knew his catalogue pretty comprehensively. Anyway, at the end of it, he sort of nodded and said, "Well, I like you better now."
Supposing I just sort of kept an eye on that hand of yours, and every time it came up, to give me a thing, I ducked my head, we could have quite a reasonable conversation.
He wasn't pompous, but there was a touch of the Captain Mannerings about him. There really was. And, he could be prickly. And he decided, here's a young punk and I'm going to tell him off. And in the end, he liked me better. And eventually we became friends.
There had been 16 years of success in The Two Ronnies, Porridge and Open All Hours. But in the 80s, Barker realised his magic touch was failing. The sitcom Magnificent Evans about a Welsh photographer did badly.
It's not working out right at all, Is
it the light?
No, it's not the light.
Ronnie came to see me when I was controller of BBC One. He asked to see me privately. I thought, there's a problem, he doesn't like the scripts, or he doesn't want to work with Ronnie, or I didn't know what to expect. And he came in and he shut the door. He said, "I haven't told anybody else this," he said, "but I'm going to retire. I've had enough." He said, "and I just want to plan the next year. I want to know what you want me to do. This is what I'd like to do. Can we just plan it now? Then I've got that banked in my mind, and then that's it, finished."
He was running low on ideas and wrote Clarence under the name Bob Ferris about a short-sighted removal man, recycling a character and a script from his time at ITV some 16 years earlier.
Look at the old Chelsea pensioner over there. What is that? Nice day for coronation, isn't it? I'd love to see them old Chelsea pensioners, don't you?
Fred, I thought I might nip off for an hour and have a look at the procession.
He absolutely had his life balance, and family came first, theatre came next. And I think that's why, when he eventually retired, I don't honestly think it worried him. The rest of us old troopers go on as long as we possibly can, but he'd done everything he wanted to do. That's what he said.
Stop! Those are goldfish.
Oh, yeah. Of course, that's another thing about you women, and you're all soft, ain't you, when it comes to animals? You're all soft. Go on, flush them down the lab. Go on.
I certainly will not flush them down the lap.
Oh, here he comes now. Now we've done half the pack and he's turned up, hasn't he? I don't know.
It's just a lot of Mr. Magoo jokes recycled, and almost that form is dying, really, by the time that comes along.
The trunk and the suitcases are going with the master and mistress of Rangoon. They aren't to be touched.
Oh, right-o. I'll just move this standard lamp out my way. Who's this then?
Somehow he began to crumble, I think, when he was robbed of really good writing, either his writing or somebody else's writing. He couldn't quite lift that material.
It's Miss Angela. Do please put her down. She's going through an unhappy time.
Oh, dear. I'm sorry. No harm done. I was just guessing your weight. 9 stone 5. I'm never wrong. Used to lifting wardrobes, you see.
And there's something faintly depressing, actually, about those late sitcom vehicles and the absence of laughs and the broadness of the characters in them.
Oh, look at that. My old granny had a piece just like that. It's lovely, isn't it?
You will be careful, won't you?
Careful. I've got hands like a surgeon, me.
What's that?
I'll cut myself.
There's always a dip, you know. There's always a point when you've been around a long time, everybody loved you, and then they're kind of not bored, but you're the big guy, so nobody's going to give you plaudits. And then comes the next phase, as did happen with Ronnie Barker. Finally, when he gets the full old man glory stuff. I don't know whether... I wish he hadn't retired, and I think if he had decided to just reduce his workload and keep going, I'm certain there would have been another great sitcom there.
By that stage, I think he'd already had a bit of a scare, a few alarm bells about his weight. I remember how he was been told he got to lose weight. And he was determined that wasn't going to happen to him, and Tommy Cooper had gone around that time as well, and that he wasn't just going to keep performing until he dropped. So it was, I applauded him for it at the time. I thought that decision was, very, very, very laudable. Quite surprised, I have to say, when he then came back to do the Churchill's Butler much later on.
Ronnie was tempted back with a small part in a feature film alongside the great Albert Finney. The Gathering Storm told the story of Winston Churchill's pre-war years. Ronnie Barker played his long-suffering butler, Inches.
Mr. Churchill, sir. Mr. Churchill.
Inches, you're drunk.
She's here, sir. She's here.
What?
Taxi's coming down the drive, sir.
What on earth are you talking about?
Mrs. Churchill, sir.
She's here?
Yes, sir.
Ronnie had retired, I think, quite a few years. You need to research exactly how many. I think 4 or 5 at least, maybe more. He was running his antique shop with Joy, his wife, in Gloucestershire. And I went to meet him, and we got on, I suppose. And listen, anyone to have the opportunity to work with Finney, you don't turn it down.
Inches, out. I'm in the middle of a letter.
Telephone, sir.
Out.
The man says it's important, sir.
Call back later.
Really important.
Who is it?
Major Sankey, sir.
Who the hell is Major Sankey?
One of your constituency workers. I think you should talk to him.
What, now?
Yes, Mr. Churchill. He's been ringing all morning.
Oh, all right. Inches, you're the most irritating clod that ever walked the earth. I was in the middle of a letter to my wife, and now I've completely lost my train of thought. Idiots. Have you no sensitivity whatsoever?
There's no need to be insulting, sir. I was merely passing on a message.
Shut up, Inches. How dare you? Tell the girl to put the call through up here.
She's gone to lunch, sir.
Well, then do it yourself.
I am not acquainted with the mechanism, sir.
Oh, God almighty bloody hell. You're very rude to me, Inches.
You're very rude to me, sir.
Yes, but I'm a great man.
You're a stupid old bugger.
He stood out because not only could he just do the job, it was effortless. It's like, the old thing of a tightrope walker that can walk along and they sort of do a trick fall because it makes it look like it's more difficult. Ronnie could just do anything he wanted to on that acting tightrope.
Mr. Inches, I think a glass of champagne might be in order.
Well, with respect, sir, I think we might save that for happier days.
It was a small part and a return to his serious acting roots. Just a year later, the same team travelled to Italy to film My House in Umbria, another straight role for one of Britain's funniest actors, now in his twilight years.
Well, Mrs. Delahunty, the situation, as it were, my staying here...
Umbria was hard. It was hard for all of us. It was incredibly hot. We were in the middle of Tuscany, and it was, the temperatures were unbelievably hot, and you've got lights as well, and they were wearing quite heavy clothes because some of it was meant to be set in the winter, I think. So I think everybody found it tough, and I think Ronnie did as well, but he never complained.
Up, I was wondering whether it's not time for me to pack my bags.
Well, he said he wasn't going to do anything after the Gathering Storm, and I slightly bullied him coming back. But I'm pleased I did, and he was happy. We had we found him a nice little villa, something not grand. He didn't want anything grand, but we used to go around and barbecue in the evenings, and he was always pleased to see me wearing his Panama hat and sitting under an umbrella and doing a bit of barbecuing with Joy. So I think he enjoyed the time out in Italy.
He's no fool. He knows Francine will be jealous. No, I doubt very much whether he'll ever come back.
On the other hand, he may very well come back next month.
I may be dead next month. The moon may have crashed into the earth. Who knows what dreadful things may come to pass. But at the moment, I'm happy. What else matters?
Carpe diem.
I'm never really sure what that means.
Oh, seize the day.
Embrace the present. Enjoy life while you've got a chance.
Ronnie Barker passed away just 2 years later, a master of comedy, at home on stage, television and big screen.
I read a book about him recently, and Ronnie Corbett said that in 40 years they'd never had an argument, and that was my experience with the guy. He was a delight to work with.
Your game, milady?
When they look at the 20th century in terms of what we laughed at and what brought us all together and what gave us a wonderful, warm feeling of being part of the same community, sharing a sense of humour, Ronnie Barker will be, without question, a member of a small and elite group.
Listen, I have to keep my hands at room temperature in case I ever have to decant any of that sparkling vintage for full-bodied white, known locally as Nurse Gladys Emanuel.
He certainly would rank alongside people like Spike Milligan and Eric Morecambe.
I'm the only bloke that keeps the tone this place up.
I mean, those monologues with tongue-tripping lines and everything. I didn't know anybody who was as good as he was.
Good evening. Horror is the nose of tonic. At the Primo Minister's country household, chocolates.
He was, in the best sense, a comic actor, but you can put the comic in brackets. He was a terrific actor.
Dreams is your escape, isn't there? There's no locked doors, there's no barriers, there's no frontiers. Dreams is freedom.
There aren't many people who slot into that kind of tradition, because he could do so much more than that too. But I think that's essentially what he is. He was a great actor who was very, very good at comedy.
And we've just been told the police are desperately seeking the man who steals the ends of news items. The man is described as tall and grey-haired with a very big. That's all we've got time for this evening, so it's good night from me, and it's good night from him. Good night. Good night.